Hello, beautiful one. Grateful to have you here with us today. And there is a lot happening energetically, and you may be connecting it to it. You may be not at this time consciously. You might be feeling kind of tired, maybe a little spacey, maybe a little dizzy, maybe a little ungrounded. Maybe some fears are actually being triggered and coming up to be seen. What's happening energetically as I look at the energetic climate is with the light coming onto the planet, it's a particular frequency, it's a particular codes with this particular energetic light influx that is creating this purification. And not that that hasn't been happening, that has been happening, but each time we go through a wave, the next wave is a little bit different, has a little bit different texture to it, a little bit different intentions behind it. It's refined just a little bit more for a very specific um, alignment. And it is unique to each of us because we are each unique divine beings. So we encourage you to take a moment and just scan and just bring to your conscious awareness, how are you feeling? What have you been noticing for you? Because in our going about life, we can forget to just be present and just look and be aware and to engage with and turn on our superpower of awareness that we spent lifetimes cultivating. So take a moment, engage that observer mode, witnessing, looking, not attached. What are you noticing? Maybe what are you noticing in the mental body, the physical body, the emotional body, maybe even in the external? And maybe take a moment and actually presence it and record it, what you're noticing. This isn't about creating the unwanted by paying attention to the unwanted. This is about engaging with what is in order to gather data, in order to be present and aware. Because if we're not holding awareness of something and we're trying to ignore it or distract ourselves from it, we're actually using some of our life force energy, creative energy, to resist seeing it and thus giving it power. So there's this misunderstanding in a lot of spiritual teachings where if you pay attention to something, if you're giving it power. And what we would say is it's what you're doing while you're paying attention to it. Are you paying attention to it and identifying as a victim in relationship to it? Or going into a story of, I'm disempowered, I'm not enough, I don't have, woe is me. Notice what happens when you presence and are aware of what's currently running, currently expressing. And anytime we're in resistance to something, not only are we giving it power, we're not allowing ourselves to move through what's being invited, the vibrational alchemy, the vibrational transformation that's being invited. It's almost like we keep delaying our passage through a particular corridor by not being willing to look at the gateway through that corridor that leads to that corridor. And the gateway is what's coming up. And if it's triggering, if it's generating an uncomfortableness, a discomfort, a not peace, a not empowered, and not safe, and not supported, not connected, not enough, it's a gateway. Because all of those things are what you are not. You are not really disempowered. You are not really not safe. Not in truth. Not in what you really are. So it's not about dismissing it and saying, okay, I'm having this experience where this fear is arising, maybe a fear of lack of something, or a fear of not enough, a relationship to my worth or my value, or maybe it's just an uncomfortableness in relationship to a certain situation, circumstance, or area of life. Maybe it's a fear of the unknown. As you're willing to face it, to see it, without trying to make it be something it's not. In other words, you don't try to shift it or change it. You just look at it. It starts to soften. If we're not in resistance to it and we're not judging it, it starts to soften. And we're going to model and demonstrate to you that stance of how you can be present with something and just look at it from a place of observing, getting clear. You're getting the clarity of what's running in the fields. Doesn't necessarily mean it's yours. You could be empathically feeling others. We're going to speak to that more. But this first step is just, let me just see. Let me just pull back the curtain and look. And from our perspective, we recognize that you have lived many lifetimes, had many expressions in multiple dimensions on and off planet. And what may be arising to be seen could be something that hasn't fully completed itself from one of those other moments. Could be an old trauma, could be an old transformation moment that didn't fully unpack itself and resolve and integrate. It could be something from the womb or childhood from this incarnation. It could be something that is a parent's or an ancestor's that you thought was yours, basically from the time of conception, maybe even before conception, when you were hovering, waiting to be conceived and birthed into the physical realm. Ancestors could have approached you and said, will you help me work on my challenge while you're down there when you get there? When you get to the physical realm and have access to the feedback loop, have access to the reflection, the mirror, will you help me work on my piece? And because you have a heart wired for service, and maybe at that time was wired for more of a codependent way of being in service, you said, sure, I'll work on your challenge for you. And so it's possible that you've been spending this entire lifetime trying to shift someone else's challenge or karma that isn't even yours. And the issue with that is that we're not calibrated for their challenge. We're not at a place on the mountain for that particular challenge. May have already completed that on our journey at some point, or we have yet to get to it. And either way, it's not where we are in positioning with regard to our own divine blueprint. And therefore, we're trying to process something out of timing. And we're trying to process another's probably unprocessed emotions around it, which is their fuel for their evolution. You can also be feeling, sensing empathic challenges that are not yours, that you haven't really taken on within your fields, but you feel it. It's like if you live in an apartment building with a really noisy neighbor and you can hear the music or the TV or the conversations they're having on the other side of the wall, and it's really loud. And maybe at some point, maybe when you're waking up in the morning or falling asleep at night, you forget that those conversations, that TV, that radio, that music is not yours, it's theirs. You get a little confused. And you start to act as though it is yours. Maybe you incorporate it into what you're dreaming at night. And it's actually their conversation or their choice of what to have in their energetic environment. Or maybe their emotions. Maybe they're expressing their emotions really loudly, externally. And so play with the idea that energetically that can be happening, that you can be empathically feeling people in your community or family members or loved ones who are on the other side of the veil. And this time of year is notorious because of the thinning of the veils for us to feel those who have crossed over more loudly. It's like the volume has been turned up, intensified, because the veils have gotten thinner. We haven't fully climatized to it. And so take a moment and just continue to presence what's been coming up for you. And for those of you who are connecting to this work, you've been on this journey of awakening for some time. And play with the idea that step one for you moving forward is to deal with the empathic layer so that you take it out of the equation. Because you maybe have your toolbox that you've been using for 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 years, or maybe just a year or two, where you work on your own pieces and you've gotten really good at it, or you're gaining traction with it. And so if you've had an issue or challenge that hasn't shifted for you, you've kept working it, play with the idea that the reason you haven't been able to shift it is that it's not really your issue. That can be very radical. And at first hearing that, there can be this knee-jerk reaction of wanting to filter it through a disempowered lens. And so what we would encourage you is to align with the truth of you as an infinite being, holding your superpower of awareness, embracing it, recognizing that it's a superpower you've cultivated over many, 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 many moments, trillions, quadrillions of moments. And to reach for the empowered interpretation. Ask your higher self to show you its way of perceiving this maybe new information to you. Or maybe it's not the first time you've heard it, but to interpret this information through an empowered lens. Higher self, will you help me perceive this through your eyes? This new layer of what I may be trying to shift as a challenge or an issue may not even be my challenge or issue. It might be societies, it might be humanities, it might be ancestral, it might be a loved one from 10 incarnations ago. It might be attached to a fragment that I'm holding of someone else from a previous moment of power struggle, learning in power, learning in separation consciousness. And because we're at this precipice of graduation, where we have the choice to graduate out of the separation-based system of consciousness and learning into the unity consciousness platform, where we can still grow, shift, and evolve, only it's more elegant and it's easier and it's actually more efficient. And this threshold is only available if you've already exhausted and completed all of your learning in separation consciousness. And we would venture to guess that if you're connecting to this work, you've done that. you have experienced after experience after experience separation roller coaster hamster wheel. You've gathered all your data. You cultivated the fuel you need to use it to evolve you. And now you're in this really beautiful corridor, crossing a threshold from separation consciousness into unity consciousness. And humanity will get there. You are a way shower. You're meant to be first penguin in the water. You're meant to do it first. This doesn't mean you have to. It means you've cultivated what you needed to cultivate. It's almost like you signed up for it. You prepared for it. You wanted to be a forerunner, or you wouldn't be a forerunner. And now you're at this beautiful rite of passage that you've worked lifetimes to get to cross this threshold, to retire one whole system of consciousness in favor of another. Not because the one system is wrong or bad, but because you're complete with it. You're complete with the separation consciousness ways of being and the codependent ways of being, in evolving, in loving, in relationships, in service, in living and being. So take a moment and allow yourself to be present with this idea that you have available to you this choice to retire the separation codependent consciousness and to embrace, to step into, to bring online for you the unity consciousness oneness ways of being. One with source. Everything's connected. There's no lack. There's not really limitation. I am that I am. Source is, God is. Creator is. And I spiral from that source light. I am an aspect of source light. Therefore, I have access to an infinite supply of all things. There's infinite possibility available to me in every moment. If I choose to identify as one with source and not buy into, give power to the separation, codependent ways of being anymore. And so take a moment to presence this choice, and you might imagine it as two doorways, fork in the road. Which way do you choose? What are you choosing for you? And what are you choosing to move forward? Is like, which path are you choosing to give your focus, your energy to, your forward momentum to, your attachment to, your alignment to? It's not an external path. The path will reflect externally, but you want to invite your higher self to align you energetically, internally, to the path of your choice. And so what is the path of your choice? What do you choose now? Not from resistance of what has been, not from a disempowered perspective. It's from the empowered of, yes, I did do the hamster wheel. I maybe currently am still experiencing a hamster wheel in some area of life of the separation-based system. And I'm using it to grow, shift, and evolve myself. I have used it to grow, shift, and evolve myself. I'm in the process of graduating. And today, I choose. Higher self, will you assist me in aligning to the consciousness platform I'm choosing now? And the thing about working the back end is what I like to call it. It's like where you ask your higher self to shift you vibrationally, internally. It's really like wiring into something, plugging into something. I used to see it as unplugging from one matrix into the organic, divine design matrix. And when you rewire the back end, then it's much easier to reach for the empowered lens, the thoughts that function from oneness. The behaviors are then informed from those higher vibrational, more coherent oneness way divine design, authentic expressions and alignments. So you don't have to effort it and try to conjure the right thoughts. Although that can be part of it, your choice is potent. You want to direct your focus, yes. And when you ask for higher self to shift it in what you're identifying with and what you're choosing for yourself, as far as, are you complete with the separation consciousness, living ways of being, codependent ways of being? And are you willing to choose in favor of the oneness? And can we show you what it feels like, how it's when that it's safe to be willing? Because maybe you're just in the step of being willing, and then you'll choose. And one of the reasons we're landing here before we invite you to return the empathic is because if you haven't yet turned to welcome the oneness ways of being, and you're still on the path of the separation consciousness, and you haven't yet chosen to move off of it consciously using your potent power of choice, we can return empathic stuff all day long. And then we're just going to continue the hamster wheel. Okay, I'm going to return it, and then it's back. And then I'm going to return it, and then it's back. So take a moment, invite your higher self to shift your energetic alignment to the unity consciousness as a conscious choice. Invite your body, David, nature, spirit to do it to the degree that it chooses, team same. And then invite your higher self, bodies, higher self, and teams to work with the energetic fields and the guides to reference those pieces you were bringing to your awareness earlier that are a little discordant, maybe have a lack vibration or a disempowered vibration, a dissonance to them. And to scan for all of that that's empathic, not yours, and return it to its right and perfect place, along with all relevant and appropriate energetic information, the responsibility for shifting it, the karma that might be attached to it, any fragments that might be linked with it. Return, 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 return. All the empathic issues, challenges, sensations, emotions you are being impacted by that are not yours. Return it, send information. And when you send information, the volume gets softer. You're not going to hear the collective as loudly. You're not going to hear your neighbor as loudly. Send information, return responsibility, and then take a moment and scan you, body, teams for anywhere you have attachment placed on them, wanting them to be quieter, wanting them to be different, wanting them to be more kind or more evolved or more supportive, whatever it is. Get all your attachment off of them, retrieve any responsibility you ever gave them, especially the ancestors. Retrieve your responsibility, that is your power. Hold it at the level of your higher self. Higher self, retrieve all responsibility I've ever given to anyone for any reason. Because that's the codependent ways of being. That's what links us into that world. Retrieve all responsibility, retrieve all attachment, all your life energy, all your creative energy, all your desire back to you. Clean it, recalibrate it, re-embed it in and around you. And then your world gets to be more harmonic because you're not running a codependent way of being by placing your energy on another, trying to shift them or onto a circumstance or situation. And so inviting a balancing and stabilizing of all the energetic fields, updating all grids, all reference points, all ways in which you perceive and are perceived. We invite you to cocoon your energetic fields to seal in this work. And if you'd like to journey deeper in these layers, we are going to be doing an Empowered Evolution Masterclass Saturday, October 4th. As I record this, that's just tomorrow. And so we'll probably upload this later tonight. You can join us for that Empowered Evolution Masterclass either live or after the fact. That the recordings are just as potent, and it'll be available in our online store at embracingtheinfinite.com if you'd like to learn more about that ancestral clearing Empowered Evolution Masterclass. The full moon is Sunday, so this helps us see deeper pieces, as well as when the veils are thin, we can see deeper into the energetic closet. And so this is a time really ripe for the completion of any ancestral impacts and challenges that have maybe been impacting you your whole life, or maybe even for numerous lifetimes. The other thing I want to mention is that we're going to be doing a 10/10 transmission on Friday, October 10th. We would love to have you join us for that as well. You can learn more at embracingtheinfinite.com. And we're going to be announcing soon a larger container for vibrational reinvention that we're going to be offering next year. And so just giving you a heads up to start feeling into whether you'd like to journey with us in a more all-encompassing way, where we spend a lot of time together, even dream time work and one-on-one interaction. And that will be next year, starting in March. And we'll be announcing it soon, probably by the end of the month. So keep your eyes peeled if that resonates for that announcement coming soon. We are only offering 12 seats for that, and one has already been spoken for. So just holding space for that if it resonates for you. And thank you for showing up today to do this work and to move into a more harmonic, aligned vibration for you, which then positively, empathically impacts all life. And we look forward to connecting with you all again very soon. Much love.